Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Welcome to the Wildcast podcast. I'm Justin Spears here with my guy, Michael Lev. We'll be breaking down everything you need to know about the 99th edition of the Territorial Cup. And look at this, Lev, a ranked matchup. In 2025, we've got 20 versus 25. I think that's awesome. The Territorial Cup script writers were at it again. And now we've got number 25, Arizona, in the college football playoff rankings for the first time since the end of that 2023 season. And then ASU, they move up to number 20, the first ranked matchup in the Territorial Cup since 2014. We will be answering your mailbag questions eventually somewhere down the road in this podcast. And then our guy, Jordan Ham, will be stopping by for this mega episode of the Territorial Cup preview. But Lev, ranked matchup. How excited are you for Friday?
Well, first of all, I'm excited to be here for this mega pod
that
we're doing. One pod this week. I probably do one next week as well as the regular season wraps up and we look forward to a bowl game that Arizona will be participating in. And that is one of the topics we'll get to a little bit later. But yeah, the CFP committee came through. I'm not surprised because they usually kind of shove down the group of five teams. Like they just don't get a lot of credit or, they don't find spots for them down at the bottom of their top 25. So when you do that, you open up some room. I do think that Arizona State and Arizona are deserving. I had both of them in my AP poll this week at number 19 and 20. In fact, I had Arizona higher than anybody else in the country, which is not something that I was trying to do. I was a little surprised to see that, but I feel like just the way they've been playing lately that they deserve it. For me, it came down to kind of the block of West Coast teams versus the block of ACC teams. And I really, SMU is one that I really feel like I would like to find a spot for them. And hopefully, the results will break in such a way on this last weekend of the season where I will. And there's some of these teams are facing each other, and it'll kind of, take care of itself. Like the loser of the ASU Arizona game probably will drop out of the top 25 for me, for whatever it's worth. But I think it's a good sign for the program just to be on that list, right? To see your logo pop up during this show that's watched by a lot of people, gets a lot of attention. It shows that things are headed in the right direction.
And right off the bat, being number 25, you're the first team that they show. Bam. And it's crazy to think that Arizona's ranked considering how last season ended, right? We all thought that Arizona would be playing in meaningful football games a year ago, and last year was just a complete train wreck. And now with a bunch of newcomers and new coaches, the program seems to be in a spot that Brent Brennan, where he wants it to be, which is winning, and you're also competitive in the losses, right? Arizona only has, they have 3 losses this year, and 2 of them are by 1 possession. And you can make a case that if the ball bounces a certain way, heck, maybe we're talking about Arizona, looking at the Big 12 championship. And maybe if BYU loses, then Arizona can get in. And I just think it's just amazing to me that we're sitting here Thanksgiving 2025 talking about Arizona football being 8-3 and being ranked. And the cool thing about this, Lev, is it bodes well for the future that is Arizona football, because if Brent Brennan can do this in his second year, and I know he had expectations last year, and last year should have been much better, but if he can do this in year 2, and he's also the kind of guy where he's not going to be really looking around. Like, people keep bringing up UCLA, and I'm like, I just don't know where this is coming from. I know that he went to UCLA, but I would just be honestly, Lev, you got a steak dinner at Ruth's Chris with your name on it if Brent Brennan ends up going to UCLA. Like, I'm that's how confident I am in saying that Brent Brennan's going to be here for the long haul. So
let's talk about that real quick. Which is
Sure.
the better job? Which is the better job? Football only, Arizona or UCLA? I think it's Arizona, and I don't think it's close.
It's not close.
Number one, you have a much clearer path to get into the playoff, right? I mean, what is the best case scenario for UCLA football in the Big Ten as currently constituted? Like they're going to be behind Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Penn State,
Heck,
maybe Washington also.
Washington. Yeah.
So you're at best number 6, right? You're going to get, I don't know, 3 or 4 bids per year out of that. USC too, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're ahead. Meanwhile, you saw what Texas Tech was able to do when they obviously had money, but like they saw an opportunity, they soared to the top of the league, right? You do not have those blue bloods in the Big 12. So that's one thing. Another thing is the stadium situation. Like, look, Arizona Stadium, it's old. It'd be awesome if they could build a new one, etc. But at least it's not like 30 miles away from campus, right? Number 3, cost of living in Tucson versus Los Angeles. Kind of a big difference, right?
Yeah.
Like Brent and his staff, they have lived that California life. They know how hard it can be on coaches and their families. Much better situation here in Tucson.
Yep. So I think Arizona, when it's all said and done, it's a much better job. And I just don't know where Brent Brennan to UCLA is coming from. But hey, it's honestly kind of flattering a little
Compliment,
bit.
yeah.
Where it's like, oh man, I'm getting hit on right now in the bar. It feels nice knowing that I still got it. So Brent Brennan's showing a lot of good stuff with the Arizona football program. And honestly, I think it's cool that, both programs, we'll see with Kenny Dillingham if he's really about, walking the walk when it comes to building something at ASU, because I know his name has been linked to some high profile jobs, and heck, man, money talks. Money does talk. And I think it, again, kind of similar to Brent Brennan, it shows the kind of job that Kenny Dillingham has done. And, what he's done at ASU has been, really an impressive turnaround. But Kenny strikes me as the kind of guy that wants to be at ASU for the long haul and build something special. So, Lev, we could be looking at the start of something special here, where Arizona and ASU are consistently good, and the Territorial Cups, maybe they just have a little extra meaning to it.
Yeah, it's a very unsettling feeling when, you're worried about your head coach leaving to go someplace else. I don't think it's going to be like that with Brent Brennan here. Like, I really truly believe, and look, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am. I really truly believe that he wants to be here for the rest of his head coaching career, right? If at all possible, which is 10, 15 years. Like his, something similar to his mentor, Dick Tomey.
Yep.
Right now, there is concern always about players leaving and assistant coaches leaving. And Danny Gonzalez, the defensive coordinator for the Wildcats, he certainly has raised his profile.
Yeah.
This particular season, he's been nominated for the Broyles Award, which goes to the top assistant in the country. And I don't think that he's going to leave for another defensive coordinator job. I think he would only leave for a head coach job. What do you think?
Totally. By the way, you mean former ASU assistant Danny Gonzalez?
that one.
That guy?
Dude, I'm telling you, that AI joke that he made, like, totally went over my head. I'm like, what is he talking? What AI videos? What?
Yeah. He was back when he was at ASU under Herm Edwards talking about Prop 200 and going over the history of the Arizona and U of A rivalry. And he calls it the Prop 200 game, or did back in the day. And then he went and took the podium earlier this week and was like, yeah, all that AI stuff. Yeah. Don't believe it, And I'm like, God, in the world of AI, of course, Danny Gonzalez could use that. Right.
Hey, the very first time that he talked to us, one of the things that he mentioned was, you are all in wherever you are. Right. So when he was up there, he's going to be all in on the Sun Devils. When he's down here, he's going to be all in on the Wildcats. But dude, I don't know if he ever wore shirts with the area code up there, like he does every single week. Comes in with his 520 hoodie, little or hooded T-shirt that he likes to wear. Shirty, yeah.
If you want to call it that.
And he also, he was talking a lot about continuity He's been talking about it all season. So that'll be another one interesting case. Like, look, can't blame the guy if he gets a head coach opportunity somewhere. But like I said, I think it's not about the money for him. Like, oh, I'm just going to go to the whatever SEC school to be a DC. I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
Colorado State was one where I thought he might be a good fit, but they just hired Jim Mora.
Yeah.
Today that became official. So,
but and see, going back to Brent Brennan, Brent isn't the kind of guy where he's gonna like go to Desiree and be like, I need more money for me. Brent honestly is the kind of guy where he could be the lowest paid coach in the Big 12, but as long as his boys are taken care of, as long as his staff is taken care of, and there is continuity with the coordinators, then that's what Brent wants to prioritize. And so, yeah, I agree with you, Lev. I think that Danny Gonzalez, he's the kind of guy where he's going to take a head coaching job somewhere else. And, you know, it's kind of interesting to hear him talk about his head coaching journey and what he went through at New Mexico.
What a mess.
I mean, it was just a mess. COVID, and then they had to relocate to Las Vegas, and they couldn't work out in groups more than five players. And he was saying, like, yeah, there was like a year and a half span where like we just did not work out or lift at New Mexico, and we're living out of a hotel room. And I mean, the way he described that whole situation at New Mexico during COVID, I mean, you almost feel bad for the guy. It's like almost like he kind of got screwed a little bit. And then, of course, you got the transfer portal and all that. Like he was, you know, rattling off all the names of the players who were at New Mexico when he was there. And I mean, some impressive offensive linemen. As we all know, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt that was there. And Danny made the joke. He was like, shoot, maybe last year, August 30th, the Lobos would have been a problem for the Wildcats down here in Tucson if I stuck around. But I think Danny Gonzalez, we've had the film breakdowns with him. He is wicked smart. I mean, when it comes to football, that man has more knowledge and smarts in one pinky than I have in my entire body. And so I think that Danny Gonzalez, if he has life outside of Arizona in the coaching realm, it will be a head coach. But for now, one hell of a defensive coordinator. And they got the 6th best passing defense in college football right now. They're forcing a bunch of takeaways. And I think that kind of leads me to kind of like my initial thoughts, Lev. I want to get your thoughts on this Territorial Cup game. And I know you wrote 9 stats to look for in the Territorial Cup. And to me, the number one thing is, can this Arizona defense force turnovers? And if you look at Jeff Sims, the quarterback that's stepping in for the injured Sam Levitt, this man has a boatload of turnovers. Like ever since 2020, when he started his career at Georgia Tech, he's had a lot of turnovers. As a matter of fact, I think if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, Lev, he's got 24 fumbles in his career, and then he's got 31 interceptions. So do the math there. That man has a lot of turnovers during his time as a college quarterback at Georgia Tech, at Nebraska, and now ASU. Maybe this is the game where Arizona forces a few takeaways. We saw what they could do after takeaways against Baylor. We saw what they did after takeaways against Cincinnati. And maybe that's the recipe for Arizona. Despite injury concerns, despite ASU having a very effective rushing attack, I think the Wildcats might punch the ball out from Jeff Sims and force a takeaway or two and get things rolling.
The last 7 Territorial Cups, the winner has won the turnover battle as well.
There you go.
This Arizona defense, they're tied for 6th in the country with 23 takeaways. They lead the Big 12 in interceptions. One of the things that Danny Gonzalez said, and I think it's going to bear out, is, they're going to run the ball a ton against this Wildcat defense and be like, hey, you try to stop us.
Yeah.
Right. That is the wise course of action. I know the stat that you mentioned about the fumbles, but if I'm ASU, I would rather have Jeff Sims running the ball against a pretty undersized and banged up Arizona defense than I would throwing the ball. Like, they have confused and thrown off every quarterback that they have faced, right? They also have an elite running back in Rayleigh Brown, who was a huge recruit coming out of high school, kind of banged up, never really materialized at USC. Didn't really do much that last year either. And man, he looks amazing. He's also a weapon out of the backfield.
He's the reason why Quincy Craig became a receiver.
Oh, that's right.
At modern day.
That's right. Great call. It always comes back to the Trinity League, doesn't it?
Yep.
So yeah, Danny joked, we think he was joking that they were going to run the ball 1,000 times in this game, and they probably will, and I would too.
Yeah.
I feel like some of these teams that they faced recently have gone away from the run.
Yeah.
Too quickly. Like they gotta get into their menu. Kenny Dillingham is not like that. He will cook up a weird game plan for one specific opponent, and he will stick with it. So I think we really could see 50, 55 rushing attempts from the Sun Devils, even if they're a little bit behind in this game, which is a way to maybe mitigate that turnover factor that you're talking about.
Yeah. I think that this ASU offense is just so effective when it comes to running the ball. Raleek Brown, like you mentioned, Jeff Sims. Just the last 3 games, they've averaged over 250 rushing yards. And like you said, Lev, Arizona's defense is undersized. They are banged up. So we'll see.
Yeah. One of the things I did note in this cat stats is that Arizona, while they have been struggling a little bit against the run, like 5 of their last 6 opponents have gone for 170 or more, they do limit big plays for the most part. They've allowed the 6th fewest runs of 10 plus yards in the Big 12 and tied for the 3rd fewest runs allowed of 20 plus yards. And that is a big part of Raleek Brown's game. Yeah. He's 2nd in the Big 12 with 30 rushing plays of 10 plus yards. And he's tied for 1st with LJ Martin with 11 plays of 20 plus yards. So he is he's a home run hitter.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to pitch carefully against the home run hitter. In Arizona, while they have struggled against the run, they have done a pretty good job of limiting chunk plays.
So I was thinking about this game, Lev. Is this very similar to Cincinnati in some way? Where you got a big mobile quarterback. Not Brandon Sorsby, in my opinion, is a much better quarterback than Jeff Sims. But similar body types, like Jeff Sims is 6'4", 220. And they also have effective running backs. Like they also have Kanye Udo as well. That was a kind of a highly touted recruit coming out of Army and the transfer portal after a very impressive season last year. And so one thing that when I compare this game to Cincinnati and how Arizona made the changes, I'm really curious to see the 3rd down distance against Cincinnati, especially in the second half. Because after the first quarter, that's when Arizona really did a good job of shutting down the run. But was it because they shut down the run or because they forced Cincinnati to get into these 3rd and long situations and then Brandon Sorsby had to use his arm? I feel like that's the key. Outside of takeaways, if you can get Jeff Sims in a 3rd and 8 or a 3rd and 9, you'll take that every day of the week and twice on Sunday if you're Arizona, because then you're like, okay, we could put pressure on him, maybe force a fumble, or we can make him throw an ill-advised throw and then throw an interception. I just think the 3rd down distance, that to me is going to be the second biggest key outside of the takeaways, of course.
Man, I love that idea right there. Stopping them on 1st and 2nd down, getting them into 3rd and long situations. That is exactly where Danny Gonzalez wants to be. That's when the defense can be at its funkiest, right?
Yeah.
Giving you just strange looks and you just don't know what is coming at you. We saw the hand holding Red Rover formation work for the
Hands
Wildcats.
Across Arizona, as you said.
Hands across Arizona. For those unfamiliar, it was something that they kind of tried in practice with 2 guys, and then it was 4 guys, and Noah Fafita was like, what the heck is that? Then they did it in the game because Danny said, hey, if you're going to do it in practice, you better do it in the game. And they did. And then they got a pick 6 from Jabari Mann out of it. So, yeah, I think when you play Arizona State or Utah or BYU, these teams that don't have traditional drop back quarterbacks, at least who are healthy, different story of Sam Leavitt we're playing in this game. That's the goal, right? Yeah. Get into 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. Not that Arizona wants to be in those situations, but I think they at least can handle them to some degree because Noah Fafita is so experienced. He is a true, pocket passer. And they can convert those. Like I said, not that you want to be in those situations, but he can handle those. I was thinking a little bit about, we're both voters for the AP Big 12 teams. I was thinking about quarterback. Obviously, there's still a couple games to go, but man, Noah Fifita's moving up that chart, and he's got a chance to be that guy. You think about Sawyer Robertson or Josh Hoover; those guys have a lot more interceptions, than Noah does, and to me, that's a big negative. You also look at team success.
Yep.
So, one more good performance from Noah, and he just might get my vote as the first team All Big 12 quarterback.
Well, shoot, if history repeats itself from performances in Tempe.
You can see like half of that, right? 60% of that game would be like 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, right? So,
all right. Before we get Jordan Ham on, let's answer some
mailbag questions.
Yeah, Lev, what do you got for us today?
Let's see. All right, this first one is definitely not serious, I don't think, but it comes from someone called DS. DS asks, looks wise, if Dick Tomey and Larry Smith had a kid together, wouldn't it look like Brent Brennan? Sure, dude.
Dick Tomey and who?
Larry Smith.
That's a really good one.
Sure.
I mean, if you want to combine their coaching powers, heck, Arizona fans would take that every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Here's what I will say. Eventually, like all coaches sort of start to look the same. Like they gray, their hair gets grayer. Their wrinkles, their stress wrinkles multiply. Like Kirk Ferentz looks like what Hayden Fry looked like at the end of his time at Iowa. Right? And I don't think they're related, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the coaches, they all sort of have like a look about them, I feel like. So, all right. Moving on to maybe slightly more serious questions. All right. Mo Pai Aina, who is a frequent contributor. With every win, Brent Brennan increases his value, but perhaps more importantly, so does Seth Doege. Losing him would be catastrophic at this point. The same could be said for Danny Gonzalez. Can Arizona afford to not give these guys a noticeable extension / raise? High priority, right? Very high priority. Like first thing Monday after, as next week starts, hey, how can we take care of you guys? How can we make you happy? If they were to get head coaching opportunities, of course, wish them the best.
Yeah.
But you want to keep those guys, especially, we talked a lot about Danny. With Doege, I think he would like to probably have one more year with Noah.
Yeah.
Right.
Finish it off.
Like those two guys they've become partners. He described Noah as like his little brother. And Seth he's a rising star in this business, but he's also young. He's inexperienced. It's not like Arizona's offense has not been as good as the defense this year. And I think did he mention that? I think he might have mentioned that during his presser, that there have been times when they've struggled, right? And the defense has kept getting stops and kept them in it and allowed them to find their way. But I think that is a huge, huge priority for Brent Brennan and Desiree Reed-Francois to get those guys taken care of.
Yeah, I think that the Noah Fifita timeline, that schedule, I think we'll be having this conversation a year from now when Noah's getting ready to finish off his career at Arizona, and Seth Doege is a hot commodity because he's been able to put 3 really impressive seasons together as an offensive play caller at 2 different stops. I mean, that is, year at Marshall, they were impressive running the football. And if he can come to Arizona and put together 2 really good seasons where they're averaging right around 34, 35 points a game, then maybe he can, look around for higher paying jobs. Who knows? Maybe Lane Kiffin is, taking a job somewhere else and wants to reunite with Seth Doege somewhere down the road. But I agree with you, Lev. I think that priority number 1, as soon as the season ends, is figuring out ways to make sure that Brent Brennan's staff is paid, they're happy, and you can keep everything intact and you can keep up that continuity.
Similar question from Logan Davis. With the dramatic 2025 offseason changes that Brent made with his staff and the on-field success this year, will the UAAD seek to extend his contract by a year and or reward Brent with a larger pool of funds for his staff. I don't think that we're at the point where Brent Brennan has to get a contract extension.
No.
Right? He's 2 years into a 5-year deal. And maybe after one more successful year, maybe you do that. And sometimes administrations will do that just sort of as a gesture of good faith to show, hey, we're all on the same page here. Things are going in the right direction. We'll give you a bump. But I think that second part, like the larger pool of funds for his staff, is a greater priority for Brent Brennan. He understands so well, because he lived it, how much of a difference it makes to have the right people in the right seats on the bus, to use his analogy. Right? Like, what do you think their record would have been last year if they had Daggy and Gonzalez? Better than 4-8, right?
Yeah.
6-6, maybe 7-5, even probably at least 6-6.
I say 6-6. I mean, the injuries were a big
especially
issue last year,
especially on defense.
And they were, lacking experience in the guys that were stepping in. So who knows? I mean, but I look at that Texas Tech game in West Virginia, and I think about there were a handful of moments last year where Arizona just got simply outcoached, and those two games are the more glaring ones. So, yeah, I think if those coordinators were in place last year, heck, maybe I'm curious to how that UCF game would have gone. Arizona's running a dime look against the best rushing team in the Big 12. Maybe Danny Gonzalez would have had a different approach. I don't know. So, yeah, I think that the coordinators are in the right place. And I also think that Brent wants to get more money for revenue share and resources and everything else. So that way he can recruit at a high level and be one of the more competitive teams in the Big 12 rather than just sitting at the bottom year in, year out.
Yeah, I have heard that Arizona's revenue share for men's basketball is among the highest around, for at least for schools that also have football. And that formula that Desiree uses to determine that, or Desiree and her team, is kind of based on how much money those programs are bringing in. So that's another reason why it's important for football attendance to have an uptick, right? Because the better you do bringing in revenue, the better you can pull from the revenue share pot. Okay. M. Paz wants to know what incoming recruits could fill important voids next year on both sides of the ball. Justin, what do you got on
that? As far as recruits needs, I'm really curious what's going to happen at wide receiver, just because Chris Hunter's coming back, Trace Spivey's coming back, and then you have Gio Richardson. So you feel really good about those pieces.
Did you mention Isaiah Mizell too?
Isaiah Mizell is another one as well. So they've got a really good quartet and core of guys that are coming back. But, who's going to be maybe that Gio Richardson type of player where, he's a freshman, but, you see flashes here and there. RJ Mosley from Pittsburgh, California, he has risen to be a 4-star recruit and is currently Arizona's highest rated prospect for 2026. So I look for him. Malachi Joyner is also a really good player that's rising in the 26 class. So I look at those guys for offense.
I was going to say Zaire Hyler. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Hyler.
Well, we don't know.
Back.
Yeah, because Michael Dansby's gone. Marquise Groves-Killebrew is banged up, right? Javion Cole should be back next year, but, Traydon Stukes is going to be gone. I would imagine Gavin Hunter steps into that nickelback spot next year. But for defense, I'm kind of looking more towards the defensive line, just because Deshaun McKnight and Tia Savea are both going to be gone, and they're graduating. And then you have Zach Siulepa that's going to be working to get in shape and whatnot. But Keatron Harris, 6'3", 290 pounds, coming in as a true freshman. Like, that is the frame of a high-level defensive tackle as a 17, 18-year-old. And Ortiz Jenkins is kind of like his agent, represents him. And Ortiz is the former Arizona quarterback, the guy who is responsible for Leap by the Lake. And he has really done a nice job of singing Keatron Harris's praises. He is all in on this kid. He says he's going to be a very impactful player. And with the defensive tackles leaving the program, I think Keatron Harris could have a really good role for next year's team.
Yeah, no one really expected Mays Pace to have as big of a role as he ended up having this year. But hey, man, if you're big enough, you can handle it. You can play. You never have too many good defensive linemen. Another one that I was looking at as a possibility is Henry Gabalis. And
Oh
again,
yeah,
sorry to butcher these names.
Gabalis. Yeah,
Gabalis. We'll find out more next week when they actually announce the guys. But he's a tight end. He's another one who's gained that 4-star status. You expect to have Kellen Ford back next year. You expect to have Tyler Powell back next year. But as we saw, like the depth can run out pretty quickly at tight end if you have a couple injuries. And he seems like a very good, well-rounded athlete. It's just, with an incoming tight end, the question is, is he big enough, right? Like, and strong enough. And he's listed in 247's database at 6'4", 215. So he'd probably have to put on 15 or 20 pounds to handle it, but it seems like another prospect who's rising. Obviously, quarterback Oscar Rios is also in that 4-star group. But if Noah Fifita comes back next year, we would expect Oscar to be competing for that number 2 spot.
yeah.
But you know what? That's a great place to be in if you're an incoming quarterback.
Yep. You know who's going to be the next Tai Uiagalelei, Lev?
Who's that?
Prince Williams
Hmm.
from Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas. Okay. Kind of like the D end, D tackle hybrid. He's 6'3", 260 right now. And at Bishop Gorman, we all know Bishop Gorman, nationally ranked year in and year out. He has 265 tackles and 34 sacks. So
that seems good.
Very impressive young man. So yeah, this is a really good group. They have a really good 26 class coming in, and because of the positive buzz they've been able to generate, I'm sure they're an attractive landing spot for some transfer portal guys as well.
All right, I got one more.
Cool.
This one is from Puck Hansen. Puck asks, can you provide bowl projection / updated scenarios? I'm confused how this works with realignment. Puck, you are not alone. A lot of people are confused about this. We will do our best to try to explain it. So the bowls have contracts with the conferences, and those contracts run through this bowl cycle. Then there will be a reset of sorts, and there will be different affiliations, etc., post realignment, all of that. For now, Arizona is part of the Pac-12, the old Pac-12 bowl rotation, which means that schools like Washington and USC and Oregon are in the same pot as Arizona, along with ASU, Colorado, Utah, Washington State, should they get bowl eligible, etc., right? So you have to look at what those bowls are. You look at their overall records, and then there's a little bit of wiggle room within that. Like the bowls can make picks. And I believe that you can move up a slot or down a slot, depending on what works best for everybody. So, for example, the LA Bowl is a Pac-12 bowl, and that is one of the ones that Arizona conceivably could go to. Maybe Arizona says, you know what, we got a basketball game that night against Alabama, and we would rather not be in that bowl. Maybe they pull some strings, do a little negotiating behind the scenes, and get into a different bowl, such as the Sun Bowl, which is another one with long-standing ties to the Pac-12. It's a Pac-12 ACC bowl, one that Arizona has not played in a really long time. And I think Arizona would be a very attractive school for that bowl to bring in because Tucson is within driving distance of El Paso. That game is on New Year's Eve at 12 o'clock Mountain Time, which I think would work out well for a lot of people.
If you really wanted to, like you're an Arizona fan and you don't want to spend the night in El Paso, you could wake up like at the butt crack of dawn, drive to El Paso, go to the game, and drive back all in one day because it's 4 hours. It's from here to Flagstaff. So if you're interested in taking a day trip to Flagstaff, then you could take a day trip to El Paso, Texas, to watch the Arizona Wildcats play. I think the Sun Bowl is perfect for Arizona. Like you said, Lev, they haven't played in that game since 1992, and the Sun Bowl they they treat their teams well. And I also host a radio show with the chairman of a bowl game in the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl. And one thing that, these guys think about is, how is this going to help out the economy of the city? And think about, the amount of people that travel, the people that represent that school. How is this going to benefit the bowl game, and how will this also benefit the economy? And I feel like a bowl game with the Arizona Wildcats, that's 4 hours from Tucson, easy driving distance, I think that is really going to help out El Paso, and I'm sure that's probably something that they're considering. My dream scenario is Arizona versus SMU in the Sun Bowl. Winner gets doused with Frosted Flakes. I'm here for it.
Some other bowls that are possibly in play include the Holiday Bowl in San Diego and the Las Vegas Bowl, which is against an SEC opponent. I think the Independence Bowl is a possibility as well. The interesting thing about, I think the Independence Bowl and the Alamo Bowl are both Pac-12 versus Big 12. So you had last year, you had Colorado facing BYU in the Alamo Bowl, which is, they're obviously in the same conference now. But that's just how weird these things are. And we totally understand why everybody is confused about it, because frankly, it's still a little bit confusing to us as well. And we will get clarity on December 7th, the day after Championship Saturday. We will learn where Arizona is going.
All right, Lev, I wanted to ask you something, but I want to bring in our guy, Jordan Ham from Sports 360 AZ, who's here for Big 12 Bonanza. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Jordan. How's it going?
Happy Thanksgiving, fellas.
The director of mashed potatoes.
I thought we'd zig this week, but I'm doing good.
I love the lower third, man. Love the. So I take it mashed potatoes is your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Yeah, it's all reliable. It's funny. My mom, I'm one of 4 boys, so food is obviously very important to this household. So my mom sent a text to the family of just like, hey, slightly smaller, attendance this year. So I'm not going to make all of the sides, but let's go ahead and throw in some votes. By the way, mashed potatoes is not a part of the vote because, of course, we're doing that because I know there would be anarchy within the family if we didn't do that. So.
I did want to ask you guys a couple mailbag questions that were submitted on Twitter. I want to get Jordan's thoughts on this. So AZ Cat John says the no shirt section brought excitement to the stadium, much like the old Knothole gang in the Red Zone gang. Do they find a way to market that, or do they kill it like the other exciting sections we lost? I think this one's different than the Knothole gang and the Red Zone gang, just because like that was a thing that was over multiple seasons. This is just a trend in college football that I think is probably not going to exist after this year. I mean, I hope it exists after this year because that's awesome. Seeing a bunch of guys being dudes, guys bro down up in an empty section, like that kind of stuff. It's just like wholesome content. Like I look at that and you just can't help but smile. Like, look at that. Just a bunch of guys being dudes, swinging their shirts around like a bunch of crazy people and enjoying football. What do you guys think about that?
I don't know how they would kill it. I mean, you can ban men from taking their shirts off at a football game. It's
kind of up to the fans, right?
Yeah, it's interesting that it like hasn't run its course at all. I feel like it's still going strong.
It's getting stronger,
right? And maybe even stronger. Like Justin did a good job on Instagram of documenting like how it grew over the course of the fourth quarter last week up in the upper deck. So I'm all for it. It would be very cool if the winning coach of the Territorial Cup during his post-game interview on TV took off his shirt and just started doing this, turned to the crowd, right? I mean, I think either one of those coaches could do that. They're both kind of they're both like, guys being dudes type of guys. So
I mean, Brent said it after the game. Like I couldn't do that, but like that seems like my thing. That seems like a lot of fun.
I'm interested. I mean, let's say, okay, U of A continues this upward trajectory. if the attendance gets better, that means that there are less sections that this mob can go to. So does it need to be a designated section? Is it just the student section? Is it kind of a
201 forever?
Yeah, I mean that's what it is. But what if all of a sudden more people start showing up to games? Or I guess the way that it would get killed is if the university decides to kind of shrink the attendance a little bit, and maybe 201 isn't quite what it was. So
yeah, I mean, Justin and I have talked about tarping off the upper deck, which would have prevented this from happening, right? So maybe you don't do that. We've also talked about the idea of having a swimming pool at Arizona Stadium, which would obviously lead to a lot of shirtlessness, among other things. But yeah, I think it's very cool. And it started at Oklahoma State, like on a bet, and it's just grown. Like you just see it everywhere. And also like the colder it is, the better it is. It was a little chilly. It's a little chilly on Saturday, and it's going to be chillier Friday night in Tempe. It's the first night game in a long time, Justin. We're so used to every game being at night. I have to adjust my body clock a little bit for this one.
It's crazy. The latest game since Weber State, right? The second game out of the year.
That's wild.
I'm like,
so
so used to the morning games. All right, this one comes in from at Kinkles-in-Law. This one, I think it's John. John asks, "Dear Auntie Justin, this won't be a revelation, but attendance often follows the marquee value of the opponents. The Big 12 is a fine conference, but they don't exactly move the needle the way USC, Oregon, Washington, or even UCLA do. Down year or not, even when Iowa came to town, it was a sellout. We need to carpe diem or get off the pot. Options: 1, change conferences, go to the Big 10. 2, form a new independent conference, i.e. Notre Dame. Aim big, miss big. Or 3, maybe we could schedule Florida, UCLA, or UConn. Sincerely and sleepless, Johnny M. P.S. Hang up if my wife answers the phone."
Wow.
John has some thoughts.
I think he's onto something, though, that the Big 12 in football it's not super sexy, honestly. And you had some long-standing pseudo rivals, attractive opponents like the LA schools, the Bay Area schools. Like there's a lot of Arizona alumni who live in those areas. Oregon became a huge brand in the last decade plus. Meanwhile, in the Big 12, the two biggest brands left to go to the SEC in Texas and Oklahoma. And I also think it's a little different than basketball. Like basketball's got some sizzle in the Big 12 with Houston. Even Iowa State is really good. Kansas, of course. Like you're going to show out for a Kansas-Arizona basketball matchup. So I don't think they're going to join another conference unless, the total reorganization of college football happens and we end up with back, into some facsimile of the old Pac-10 or 12. But I do think there is a little something to that theory.
Yeah.
Jordan, what do you think?
Oh,
yeah, it's not the week in, week out top 5 teams, that we've come to know in the Pac-12, but Texas Tech might be getting there. These Utah schools might be getting there. I'd be curious if there's a way late in the season that you could do like a Friday, Saturday twofer of like Kansas men's basketball and Kansas football comes to town the same weekend. And men's basketball plays Friday, football plays Saturday, although that would probably attract a lot of Kansas fans. So that might be counterintuitive where you're getting butts in seats, but is it U of A?
That's
butts
okay.
in seats?
Yeah, it's okay.
But
they still have to pay to get in, right?
Yeah. So
money's money.
Yeah, and for us to try to project kind of like 5 years out what it's going to look like 5 years ago, who would have thought this is what that ASU and U of A are in the Big 12, and things that were very illegal in college sports now are embraced. So I think kind of having kind of one of those long-term plans is tough to kind of forecast what it looks like. But winning certainly helps that. And U of A delivered on that, and they haven't seen the results, but I think it's fair to keep an eye on that here next year if there's a lot of buzz around the program again.
Well, I think, this year a lot of fans were hurt and disappointed by last year.
Yeah.
And they were just kind of in wait and see mode. And, well, Brian Brennan showed you he can win. And next year when Noah Fafita is back and you have still that nucleus of that good culture still there and you're just adding pieces, I think more people will start to show out to games next year. And who knows, maybe they'll get later games. And maybe the later games will put more people back in the seats because, a lot of people were apparently too busy Saturday mornings and Saturday afternoons to show up to Casino del Sol Stadium for home games.
But then if it's a 7:00 kick, it's too late. So it's like, do all of them need to start at 4:30? Is that what we need to do?
Early bird special.
Yeah.
So this is a great segue into something that I wanted to talk to you guys about before we get into Big 12 Bonanza. And that is the schedule of the Big 12 on the final week of the regular season. Some rivalry games, some really random games, right? Like UCF against BYU, Texas Tech, West Virginia. Why are we doing this? Like, what can we make this better? Okay. Like, shouldn't everyone play their biggest rival, quote unquote, in the last game of the season? I would like to see not only Arizona against Arizona State, but Kansas against Kansas State. I think the Holy War should be on the last week of the regular season, maybe like the last game of the night or something, right? You could have UCF against Houston become a thing, like the Space War. West Virginia, Cincinnati. In Texas, probably looking at maybe like Baylor against TCU.
Yeah.
That leaves a couple ones that don't have a natural rivalry necessarily. So you kind of have to get one started. Iowa State's facing Oklahoma State this week. I think that could become a thing. And then that would leave Texas Tech and Colorado as the last one. It's not perfect, but I think it could be a lot better than it is currently. What do you guys think?
Yeah. Like, what'd you say? UCF versus Houston?
Yeah, UCF Houston would be the Space War.
The space game every Thanksgiving. Think about the week of Thanksgiving in Salt Lake City during Holy War week, where you have a lot of families. Some of them lean more towards Utah, some lean more towards BYU. So I just think the intensity of the Holy War around Thanksgiving week in Salt Lake City would be awesome. So yeah, I'm all in on those matchups. And I think, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, it's not like an in-state rivalry, but they're close enough to have that. And, they're also a part of the old Big 12.
Exactly.
So they have a long history with each other. So yeah, I think that they should probably reorganize the rivalry week for the Big 12.
Yeah, I think it's tough, one, to gauge like how a team is like you can try to gauge the good matchups and put it at the end, but how many times have we seen an anticipated top team struggle or a team come from out of nowhere and play really well, and all of a sudden there are big implications. And I think another challenge is in the last 2 years, how many teams have come in and out of this conference. So those conference rivalries haven't quite been developed yet. So, but I think then you double down on the guaranteed rivalry games. Even if it's a handful of them, and there's kind of a weird mishmash over here, maybe that'll eventually turn into something. But when the state of Utah goes head to head, that's going to have some juice to it. When the state of Arizona, the state of Kansas, so those need to be kind of slated from the jump. Baylor, TCU, Eric Sorensen, longtime Sports 360 AZ producer, diehard TCU fan, and he hates Baylor. And he's told me a lot about that rivalry. So even if year in, year out, they're not incredible, like that can be something you can just hang your hat on of no matter where they're at in the schedule, this is going to have a little bit of extra eyeball, extra energy on it.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't Baylor, don't they have some religious affiliation as well? Aren't they?
Is it Baylor or the city of Waco?
Okay.
I think I think there is an element there.
Okay, it's a Christian university affiliated with the Baptist General Convention of Texas. So you got TCU and Baylor, two Christian schools. You have the Holy War in Utah. I just think it's cool that you got some religious affiliations attached to some college football rivalries.
Yeah.
This needs to be done for sure.
Yeah.
So, hey, this is our last week of at least regular season week of doing the Big 12 Bonanza. We will pick the Big 12 championship game. We will also pick every bowl game involving Big 12 teams all the way through the college football playoffs. So this is a long way from over. I got some catching up to do, to be sure. Last week, none of us did very well. Shocker. We're all under 500. Justin and I were both 3-4 against the spread. Jordan was 2-5. Straight up, Justin and I were 5-2. Jordan was 4-3. For the season, Jordan and Justin are tied against the spread at 43-48. Be proud, boys. I am 5 games back at 38-53. Yuck. Justin 63-28 straight up. I'm 62-29, and Jordan is 60-31. So that one's tight. I again on a couple of these picks, I'm gonna wait till the end to see what you guys do before I reveal my selection, which means I don't really have a strong conviction about them at all. Okay, let's start with 10 a.m. Friday. This is the Utah-Kansas matchup. Again, strange, right? Like Utah against Kansas. This is our last game of the season. This game is on ESPN. Utah, when I sent out the picks, favored by 11.5 at Kansas. Man, things are weird for Utah right now. They have given up in the last 2 games 563 and 574 yards. They gave up 470 yards rushing or so against Kansas State last week, and somehow found a way to win. 472 was the number. Huge emotional rally for the Utes to keep their college football playoff hopes alive. Very slim hopes. They're on the outside looking in. Even if they win, if Miami also wins, I don't think they're getting in over Miami. They lost to both BYU and Texas Tech, the teams that are ahead of them and likely are to play in the Big 12 championship game. But if very prideful program that will go out and play hard no matter the circumstances. Kansas, meanwhile, very disappointing performance last week against Iowa State. I think a lot of us thought they would show up for that game, and they really didn't. They're sitting at 5-6, 1 game out of a bowl berth. One injury to note from this game is John Henry Daly, the awesome pass rusher for Utah, who's number 2 in the league with 11.5 sacks. He's out for the season with a lower leg injury. So we've got Utah favored by 11.5 at Kansas. What do you guys think?
Man, Lev always teases me because I pick based off of vibes. And the vibes tell me that at this point of the season, maybe we see a desperate Kansas team that's sitting at 5-6, 1 win away from becoming bowl eligible. Utah, they're on the road. And like you said, Lev, they have an outside shot at getting to the Big 12 championship game. So which Utah team are we going to see? I really like this Utah team. I like the future of it. I think Bird Ficklin is an absolute dog. And he's got a fan in me. But, I'm going to go with the Kansas Jayhawks to pull off the upset, get to bowl eligibility, and upset the Utah Utes.
You stole my thunder, Justin.
Sorry.
I was doing the exact.
Sorry.
Hey,
sorry.
No,
it's that kind of week where something else steals Ham's thunder, right? This week it's about turkey.
Yeah, 100%.
Sorry, Spears took Ham's thunder. So sorry, man.
As one does. It was weird last week watching that Utah game. Truly, we've talked about Rice Eccles at night, where it was they were struggling. The sun went down, and then all of a sudden, this massive comeback happens. Morning game in Kansas. I've been calling for a Jalen Daniels legacy game all year, and it has blown up in my face time and time again. But there's one more shot to do it. I'm going to go ahead and take it.
Let's go.
Sounds good to me. I'll happily take Utah. Freaking Kansas and Colorado are the teams that I feel like have just screwed me over the most all season long. So
I'm just I'll catch up on that one. Check.
Please, I'm so happy you guys are taking Kansas. Okay. On set, we're going to skip over the Territorial Cup for the end of the pod. Well, I'm sure Jordan has a lot of thoughts on what's going on with ASU in this matchup. There are 4 games at 10 a.m. our time on Saturday. Again, what are we doing, Big 12? This is so weird. I don't know why all the games are in a clump like this. We will start with Iowa State at Oklahoma State. This game is on ESPNU. And Iowa State is favored by 14.5 points in this one. Big news out of Stillwater this week. Eric Morris is going to be the next head coach of Oklahoma State. He comes from North Texas. North Texas is number 1 in the country in scoring and total offense. And boy, could Oklahoma State use an injection of juice like that. They are the worst offense in the league currently. Yes, Justin, you just thought of something.
Oh, sorry. No, I just Googled Eric Morris's age, and he's 40 years old. And come to find out, he was in the game and had a couple of catches where Mike Gundy came into the post-game press conference and said, "I'm a man. I'm 40." Eric Morris was on that team.
Were they only looking at candidates who are 40 years old?
I don't know.
Wait, Justin, can you look up when his birthday is?
October 26, 1985.
Okay, so he just turned 40. So
perfect.
When he starts his season, he will be 40. So that's good.
He's a man.
Let's be the first thing he says at his introductory press conference. Right?
I'm a man. I'm 40.
So look, hey man, Oklahoma State, they've been scrappy the last couple of weeks, right? I mean, they lost 14-6, absolute heartbreaker last week against UCF, losing 17-14. They were up 14-0 at halftime. Will they have their breakthrough? Meanwhile, Iowa State, they've won 2 in a row after losing 4 in a row. Rocco Becht found his form against Kansas, 18 for 23, 241 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Carson Hansen continued his really good season with 120 yards and a touchdown. I like the way that this Oklahoma State team is fighting for its interim coach. They know that his time is going to be running out here soon. So I was really tempted to take Oklahoma State to win this game outright and get off the schneid and avoid back-to-back 0-9 seasons. I just can't quite go there. I'll take Iowa State to win, but Oklahoma State to beat the 14.5 point spread.
Yeah, I think considering the last home game in Stillwater, Iowa State, they don't really have anything to play for. They're 7-4 right now. I think Oklahoma State, they end on a positive note, but I do think Iowa State will eventually outlast them in the fourth quarter. So I got the Cyclones in close fashion.
Yeah, Oklahoma State has held Kansas State and UCF to 14 and 17 points respectively. I think both of those offenses are comparable, if not better, than Iowa State's. Iowa State's defense is actually playing pretty good this year. It's just they just can't generate many points. So I think Iowa State wins, Oklahoma State covers.
You know what, guys? I'm going to take Oklahoma State to win this game.
Do it.
Why not? What do I got to lose, right? All right, I feel very strongly about this next one. This is Colorado at Kansas State. Did you guys see any like this Chris Kleiman post game where he's like breaking down in tears and like it's just so passionate in defense of himself and his team and this idea that they're just going to cash it in and they're not going to do that and all this stuff. Like, man, it was pretty inspiring. So I feel like the Wildcats are going to be inspired for their matchup against Colorado on FS1, also in that 10 a.m. time slot. They are favored by 16.5 points. Julian Lewis, he's not going to play in this game. They've decided they're going to hold him out so he can preserve his red shirt. Kansas State, as mentioned, 472 yards rushing last week. Joe Jackson had 293, 243. Can't read my own writing. A lot of rushing yards. I asked this question earlier in the year, guys. What does Colorado do well? Like, what is their calling card? And now I look at the statistics here. They're 15th in scoring offense, 14th in scoring defense, 15th in total offense and defense, 15th in rushing offense, 16th in rushing defense. They've allowed the most sacks. They have the third fewest sacks. Like, this team is just not good. That combined with the impact of Chris Kleiman's speech, I am going to take Kansas State, lay the 16.5 points, and I think they'll cover that spread easily.
Yeah, they're 5-6 right now. But if you look at their resume, 3-point loss to Iowa State over there in Ireland, another tough loss to Army, which is one of the weirdest games you will ever see. I'm pretty sure Kansas State touched the ball like once the entire second half or twice. Just a stupid game. So crazy. And then they lose to Arizona 23-17. They lose to Baylor 35-34. I mean, really the only game where they just got smacked was against Texas Tech. And a lot of teams got smacked by Texas Tech this year. This team has lost so many close games. I think against a struggling Colorado team, with their backs up against the wall, fighting for bowl eligibility, I got Kansas State by a mile.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. Julian Lewis, got to watch him against ASU. If he's with Colorado, if he ends up elsewhere, whoever has him, I think should be really excited. Like, he is a very talented QB and covered up a lot of errors for CU. But if he's not playing, I don't see this offense doing much. And yeah, maybe it is Kansas State can build off that. They're pissed about how Utah went and they take it out on Colorado. I think they're going to run away with this one.
They might run for 472 yards again in this
Yeah.
game. Like, it really wouldn't surprise me. All right. Continuing in the 10 a.m. window on Saturday, we've got Texas Tech visiting West Virginia. When I sent this one out, Texas Tech was favored by 24.5 points. This game is on ESPN. Your guy Dior Hubbard is out for the season. Justin, yet another injury for West Virginia, which, man, really scrappy performance the last time we saw them against ASU. They lost only 25-23. Last time we saw Texas Tech, who also had a bye last week, absolutely trounced UCF 48-9. We know how good Texas Tech is at just about everything. Cameron Dickey is a guy that I think that's worth spotlighting. Number 3 in the conference in rushing. And here's the biggest stat, I think, for this one. Texas Tech is number 1 in the league in run defense by a mile, 71.8 yards per game. That is exactly 100 yards less than what West Virginia averages on the ground, 171.8.
Good Lord.
I think Texas Tech will shut down West Virginia's running game. I don't think there's going to be any Rich Rod shenanigans in this one. But with that big of a spread and the fact that I'm behind you guys by as much as I am, I'm going to take Texas Tech to win, and I'm going to hold off my against the spread pick until I hear what you guys have to say.
Well, I think there is going to be Rich Rod shenanigans, and that is staying within 3 touchdowns. So I'm going to go with Texas Tech to win. But yeah, I got the Mountaineers staying within 20 points.
Yeah, this is, as you said, Lev, a really scrappy Mountaineers team that continues just to fight and navigate these injuries. So I'll take them to cover, but Tech to win.
Okay, then I guess I'm taking Texas Tech. man of conviction.
Lev's going to climb up by just picking these heavy favorites that Spears and I are just like, nah, never mind.
I got more surprises in store here as we
go.
close out the Big 12 Bonanza. All right, Houston is at Baylor. This is the last of the 10 a.m. games. Houston, no respect. They're getting 2.5 points in this game. They lost last week in very painful fashion to TCU, 17-14. Ethan Sanchez, very reliable place kicker, 0 for 2, including the tying kick from inside 40 yards in the last minute. He had been 19 for 22 on the season coming into this game. Wow, what a gut punch. Baylor, I mean, they've got a lot of talent. We've seen how explosive they can be. They just cannot get out of their own way. So many turnovers. Last in the league, minus 12 in the turnover table, minus 9 in their last 4 losses. I don't know. I just can't trust this Baylor team. And I'll take the points and take Houston. They're just more solid. They're more reliable. I don't think they're going to crash and burn at the end of the season here. So I'll take the Cougs on the road plus 2.5.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed in Baylor's offense in the second half. And I know Arizona's defense made all the right adjustments and Danny G was Danny G. But man, like Michael Trigg, I wouldn't say give up on a play, but you could definitely tell by his body language. There was just no like sense of urgency. And when things go bad for them, they just typically shut down. And so I think that's going to happen this week. Last year, when these two teams met, Sawyer Robertson had 3 interceptions in that game. I think they figured out a way to get an interception or 2. And I'm going to go with TCU to win this game, or excuse me, Houston to win this game. Sorry, and cover.
It's really interesting. We look back at October 25th, so a month ago, essentially. Houston beat ASU after ASU got ranked, did it in dominating fashion. It was like, all right, welcome to the party, Houston. Here, you're a contender. Since then, lost to West Virginia, barely beat UCF, lost to TCU. So they've really kind of just struggled, but I think they're going to kind of get up off the mat, bounce back well. Kind of like you said, Lev, with Baylor, it's they put up so many yards and so many points, but just self-inflicted wounds, whether it's the defense or turnovers or penalties or whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and take Houston.
You just can't trust Baylor right now.
Yeah.
But of course, the fact that we all took Houston probably means that Baylor's going to win for us. So,
right.
So happy holidays for the Bears. All right, 11 a.m. This one's on ESPN 2. One of these games, I messed up where it's at. Where's the TNT?
UCF and BYU?
UCF and BYU is on ESPN 2.
ESPN 2, yep.
So does TNT have one this week?
Maybe not. TNT's Houston and Baylor.
That's what it is. Okay, Houston and Baylor on TNT.
Yeah.
Okay. Want to find that game. All right, UCF and BYU. This game is at 11 a.m. on ESPN 2. And UCF is getting 17.5 points at BYU. So BYU also benefited a little bit last week from some missed field goals. Cincinnati missed 3 field goals in that game, 0 for 3 in a game that was fairly close. But BYU, they do their thing no matter where they are. LJ Martin had 222 yards rushing in that game. UCF is better at defending the pass than the run. Really good pass defense. Actually, number 2 behind Arizona in the Big 12. But if you can't stop the run, it doesn't really matter. Last 2 times we saw UCF on the road, they lost 30-3 to Baylor, 48-9 to Texas Tech. I see something similar happening in this one. I am going to take BYU, which is going to take this game very seriously, knowing that they have a rematch looming with Texas Tech if they just take care of their business here. So give me the Cougs. I'll lay the 17.5.
Bingo. They've got their sights set on the Big 12 championship game. I think this is going to be a classic LJ Martin game. I think BYU, I think they take care of business. I don't think they're going to play with their food. I think they're going to go in mission focused, get the job done, and get ready for what should be a very fun game against Texas Tech and Dallas.
Hey, fellas, let's get weird. I think that this is going to be Taven Jackson legacy game. Scott Frost is going to help out his old buddy Kenny Dillingham, and we're going to have some Saturday morning weirdness in Provo. Give me UCF.
Oh my God. Oh my Lord. That is so not going to happen. But sure, you do you, Jordy. You do you.
Swing big, miss big.
You can't hit a home run unless you swing for the fences, right? Okay, one more game on Saturday. Cincinnati at TCU. Again, weird matchup. Why is this a matchup that we have on the last week of the Big 12 slate? I have no idea. This game is on Big Fox, and Cincinnati is getting 4.5 points against the home Horned Frogs. As mentioned, Steven Rusnak went 0 for 3 on field goals last week for Cincinnati. They were only 1 for 3 in the red zone, and they're normally a very good red zone team. 1 touchdown and 3 trips, no other scores at all 4 for 13 on third down. They've lost 3 games in a row after kind of being in that Big 12 championship conversation, losing to Utah, Arizona, and BYU. They're -5 in turnovers in that game. Meanwhile, you got Sonny Dykes singing, leading Living on a Prayer on the team plane on the way home. Good times and good vibes for the Horned Frogs. This is the one where I'm going to get kind of weird, and I'm just going to take Cincinnati to win outright at TCU, just because I don't think they're going to end the season on a 4-game losing streak. I think they're a better team than that. They showed some serious signs of life. I mean, they were going toe-to-toe with BYU, if not for the missed field goals and red zone issues. So I'm going to take the Bearcats to win this one and gladly take the 4.5 points.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Cincinnati, the final stretch to their season, and they're playing against Utah, which is right there in the mix to go to the Big 12 championship, maybe even the CFP. And then you've got Arizona, which is a couple plays away from being 10-1 right now. And then BYU, they take care of business on Saturday. They're going to the Big 12 championship. So they've just run into a really tough 3-game stretch. And TCU in Fort Worth, that's going to be a hell of a game. I think that the Bearcats will win this one, but I think TCU and that high-powered offense, they make it very interesting, and I think it's going to go all the way down to the wire, but I'm going to go with the Bearcats to win by a field goal.
Looking at this, last 3 games, Josh Hoover has thrown 2 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And we've talked a lot about Sorsby struggling, but he did look good against BYU. They just couldn't quite finish a lot of those drives. So I'll take Cincinnati on the upset.
The one concern I do have about the Cincinnati pick is that they will have something of a hangover effect a little bit. Will they be able to bounce back kind of knowing that they don't really have anything at stake anymore? That is a big question. Have we lost Jordy?
No,
here, Justin?
He briefly left. Now he's back.
I hit the wrong tab. I'm an idiot.
I was going to say, I was just about to tee you up here to talk all things Territorial Cup. That game is the lone night game on the slate, 7:00 Friday night on Big Fox. It is the Teacup. Jordy, what's going on with Arizona State this week? What's the vibe? What's the news?
I think the vibe's good. They struggled for 3 quarters against Colorado last week, but in the 4th quarter exploded. Honestly, it felt kind of similar to the way U of A and Baylor played out, where it was kind of very back and forth, and then just the Arizona team flexed their muscle. Jeff Sims had a couple turnovers. Raleek Brown is playing at a very high level. Like Danny Gonzalez, Brian Ward is a finalist for the Broyles Award. So I'm really excited to see these two teams, these two defensive coordinators try to out scheme each other. Cause I think they're 2 of the best at doing that. But Sam Levitt's been around more. He's on his little scooter with his cast on his foot. So yeah, I think it's one of those things where one thing I think is interesting is their schedule had to be adjusted a little bit. They got home late against Colorado. It's a short week. So they had to, I think, kind of truncate a couple things, going on the road and that sort of thing. But it feels like they've made their adjustments and focused up and ready to go.
Keyshawn Elliott has had a huge year for
ASU
as an edge rusher. He's got 13 tackles for loss and 7 sacks. That's a bit of a concern, I feel like, for Arizona's side of things. Matthew Lotto did a good job starting at right tackle. He's going to get that assignment again. Tristan Bounds out for the season. But they give up a lot of sacks. I mean, the second most in the league. And Arizona State has the second most sacks as a defense. Keith Abney is another one who's had a really good year. In the secondary, 13 pass breakups is a lot. Not a huge, on the other side of the ball, not a huge, distribution of targets for this ASU team. It's Jordan Tyson, it's Shimon Mateer, and it's Raleek Brown, basically, right? Mm-hmm. So those are the 3 guys that you need to focus on. I think you brought up a good point about this, Jordan. 2 really good defensive coordinators, 2 really good defenses. I think this is going to be a really low scoring game, like super duper physical, not a lot of scoring. And I think the difference is going to be like who can score touchdowns in the red zone versus settling for field goals. I like the way this Arizona team is playing right now. They have a lot of momentum. I thought maybe ASU would get tripped up last week against Colorado, but again, overestimated Colorado, which is just kind of a mess of a team right now. I'm going to take Arizona in this one. They're laying 1.5 points. I think if Sam Levitt were playing, Arizona State would probably be favored by 5 or 6, right? That quarterback thing is a huge difference. Which team in this game has the better quarterback? I think it's pretty clearly Arizona and Noah Fafita. So give me the Wildcats to get to 9-3 and finish the regular season with a 5-game winning streak.
So at the start of the podcast, we mentioned the things that I'm going to be looking forward to. And then one was the turnover battle. Jeff Sims is, with all due respect to him, a turnover machine. And it's easy for me to sit here and say that from my house doing a podcast with you guys. Right. But I just think that he has fumbled a lot in his time as a college football player. And I feel like, this could be the Dalton Johnson getting back to his old form game. Like we've seen him with some picks this year. He's got 3 this year. Did you know the first time he's ever intercepted a pass at Arizona was in that 2023 Territorial Cup? I think, but what's funny is in that season, he was more known for the peanut punch and forcing the fumbles. I think we see some of that from Dalton Johnson. Genesis Smith also leads the team in forced fumbles this year. So I think we might see a forced fumble or 2, maybe an interception. I think if they can win the turnover battle, I think Arizona will win this game. And I also think, for Jeff Sims, if Arizona's defense, if Danny Gonzalez can scheme up a defense to get him in a lot of 3rd and long situations, I think 3rd down distance will determine who wins this game. If ASU can be in those 3rd and longs, then that's an advantage for Arizona. And then lastly, ASU's defense ranks 2nd in the Big 12 in red zone defense. It's as far as like red zone percentage. Now, with that being said, if Arizona's offense gets into a Cincinnati situation where they stall on that side of the field and they're kind of forced to just kind of settle for field goals, you can't have a situation where Michael Salgado Medina is missing field goals. You have to get as many points on the board as possible in this game. I think that's going to be so important. Even if Arizona's offense stalls, MSM, if he can make some field goals and be effective, then I think Arizona will have a really good shot at winning this game. And I'm going to go with the Wildcats to win this based off of just all the things I said. And then I did a college football 26 simulation, and Chris Hudson had a go-ahead touchdown late in that game. So I'll go with the Wildcats to win, and I'll go ahead and predict the same score as college football 26. Arizona 17, ASU 13.
Just curious, how often has that simulation been correct? What's the record against reality?
I should keep track of that. It's I'm trying to think here. I think they got killed against Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
And then Arizona ended up winning that game.
Didn't you have Baylor won last week, right?
Yeah, Baylor won as well.
Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado won. So the game does not love Arizona this year. Last year, they won every single game, and then they got killed in reality.
Yeah.
I think what's going on here a little bit is like the ratings are largely based on what we saw the previous season, and they do some updates of them. But, having played the game myself, like Colorado is way overrated in that game. It's based on talent. I mean, because they have some high-end talent, right?
Yeah.
Like
talent and hype.
Yeah, talent and hype.
Makes sense.
Sure.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So I'm not gonna, and also, the rosters aren't completely accurate.
Yeah.
So I'll defend EA and defend Justin a little bit here against Jordan's smear campaign.
I was clearly asking a question. That's all. I'm right there with you in terms of Jeff Sims. Like, I think he's, depending on who wins the game, I think it's going to have a lot to do with Jeff Sims and how he plays. When we were immediately out of that ASU Colorado game, I was like, oh man, like U of A is going to run away with this thing. And as I've gotten further and further away from that game, I think they might have tried to hold back Sims a little bit and kind of there weren't many designed runs. Like there were next to none of him just taking the ball and going. And maybe they were trying to keep him fresh for this game. I think maybe ASU held back a little bit. He did have 2 bad turnovers off of that. ASU, they had 4 turnovers on Saturday. They gave up 3 points off of that turnover, off of those turnovers. So the defense is playing out of their mind. One guy we didn't mention was Justin Watley, the DN, the senior. He was on the Cincinnati college football playoff team. He was on ASU last year. He's just bullying people right now. So very interested with that matchup. I think a lot of it also is going to come down to finishing your drives. And if you can't finish your drive, can you kick a field goal and make it? And I have more confidence in Jesus Gomez over Michael Salgado Medina right now to pull that off. So I'm going to take ASU to win. I think it's going to be one of those 17-10, just, beat downs between these 2 teams. And it's going to come down to the little things. And if Jeff Sims, we saw it against Iowa State, we saw it against West Virginia, he took good care of the football. Colorado was kind of the first time we saw like the Jeff Sims we all know, in terms of the turnovers. So, but if he can limit that, I think ASU will take care of it. But I think it's going to be a really good game. And I want to see more of these Territorial Cups where it's 2 teams with 8 wins going head to head. And there's a number in front of their names. Because that's held back this rivalry, in my opinion, in the last 25 years. There haven't been a ton of like big implications with this game, aside from maybe you pick up a bowl game eligibility, or maybe you have bragging rights for a year. But let's make this the regular thing where both teams are, have a lot of juice behind them, and there's a lot of implications here in the last week of the season.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
So here's another stat for you from my cat stats about the red zone. So in games that they have won, the Sun Devils have limited the opposition to a 50% touchdown rate in the red zone. In games that they have lost, the opponent scores 70% of the time, a touchdown. Arizona, when they win, 44.4% touchdown rate in the red zone. When they lose, 76.92%. So that is a huge difference. And I think it will be a huge factor in a game that, again, like you said, Jordy, I think it's going to be low scoring, 20-17, something in that range. I hope you're right about MSM, Justin, but man, I feel like every time he lines up for a field goal, I just have no idea what's going to happen, unless it's beyond 50 yards, in which case he's probably going to make it.
Yeah.
So,
see, I think I told you, Lev, he just kind of reminds me a little bit like a streaky 3-point shooter. He's like Contavious Caldwell Pope. It's like he could be on fire or he's missing him.
So what was Tyler Loop then? Was he like Klay Thompson?
Yeah.
Something like that. I was going to say he's not like flashy like Steph Curry, but he might be like a Klay Thompson.
Yeah, he's totally a Klay Thompson.
Reliable, steady.
Just quietly putting up 28 a game.
Yeah.
So Klay once did he have like a crazy first half or something one time in the last few years ago?
There was one
completely nuts.
There was a stretch where it was like he had 20 points and he dribbled the ball like 3 times or something like that.
Yeah. Insane.
Yeah.
There was a matchup of U of A place kickers this past week, Justin. Baltimore against the Jets.
Man.
Tyler Loop against Nick Folk.
Man. Charizard versus Charmander.
Say like Obi-Wan and Luke or something.
Yeah.
Are there 3 U of A kickers currently in the league?
I don't know if Lucas Haversick is in the league. I mean, I think he's on the practice squad.
Okay.
Yeah.
He had a rough time with the wind a couple weeks ago at Giant Stadiums.
Got it.
He hit a extra point way off this direction and another one way off in that direction. So, yeah, tough gig.
Hey, Jordy, do you know the last Arizona quarterback to win back-to-back games in Tempe?
No.
Yeah. Nick Foles.
Really?
Yeah. And what's funny is Nick Foles didn't even finish the second start. It was Bryson Burney who stepped in.
Whoa, that's a name from the past.
Right. And he threw a
At what point in the
pass to
game?
Gerard Carter.
At what point in the game did he come in?
I think sometime in the third quarter.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I think Bryson Burney like legitimately played like an entire.
There should be like baseball, like it should be a scoring. There should be certain scoring rules for who gets credit for the win.
Yeah.
If you're the quarterback, right? I go back to a couple years ago, that Stanford game, Jaden DeLora and Noah Fafita, and our guy Jed Fish was giving Jaden DeLora credit for winning that game when in fact Noah Fafita came in and was the one who helped them win that game.
Yeah.
As the relief pitcher. So
or like points assigned to the quarterback or something.
Yeah.
Well, like if you come into the game and you're losing and then you lead them to the win,
right.
You as the backup quarterback should get credit for the win.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So. Hey, lastly for us guys, before we get out of here, so I have one question from the mailbag that I wanted to save for the end. It's Thanksgiving related. Ed Holinsky asks, what is an overrated Thanksgiving dish? What is one that you see on the table and you say thanks, but no thanks? For me, I'm not the biggest cranberry sauce guy.
Ooh.
Like if I see that canned cranberry sauce sitting on the table, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to just skip that.
At best, it's like I'm putting a smattering of that on it. Like just getting a little bit of tart on there, but not a whole lot. I'd probably go like yams or like candied yams. Like it's just kind of mushy and just we got enough of that texture in Thanksgiving. I'd rather, you use that real estate elsewhere.
I'm gonna say turkey. Right, turkey. It's like you need to put like the way that most people make it, and maybe we need to make it a different way. But it's a little bland. It's a little dry. You have to put the gravy and/or cranberry sauce on there to make it taste good. So I'm going to say turkey, and I'm going to, give a shout out to ham as an alternative, not just because you're on the pod, Jordy, but just an idea for people if they feel the same way I do about turkey.
My in-laws, or I guess it's my brother's in-laws. They just do ribeyes. They're just like, we're not messing around with turkey. It's too much. We're not doing that. Let's just throw down with some steak.
Have you guys ever heard of a Talladega Nights Thanksgiving?
No.
Lev.
What is that exactly?
Talladega Nights, fast food, where people just bring over fast food. It's like there's no turkey, no stuffing, mashed potatoes, none of that. You just invite people over. They bring fast food, comfort food, and you guys just have a bunch of Domino's and McDonald's and Popeyes, Raising Cane's, stuff like that.
I will say I did have a delicious turkey burger the other day from this place called Truland. There's a couple locations here in Tucson. It was a holiday version of this turkey burger, and it had cheese, like fried onions, and had gravy and cranberry sauce on a pretzel bun. Really good stuff.
I enjoy all those things. That sounds pretty great.
Put it all together like that. Yeah.
Okay.
That's good stuff.
Well, hopefully everyone has a great Thanksgiving. Also, hopefully everyone enjoys the Territorial Cup. Huge thank you to the director of mashed potatoes, Jordan Ham from Sports 360 AZ. Jordan, we appreciate you. I was going to ask you what's the plan for this week, but we will see you in Tempe Friday nights. Should be a lot of fun, man.
Heck yeah.
Cool. Make sure you check out my guy Jordan on Twitter, on the Twitter world at Jordy Ham. Also, check out his coverage of both the Wildcats and the Sun Devils at sports360az.com. Check out our coverage of U of A football on Tucson.com and the Wildcaster mobile app. And then we'll be back next week for kind of another mega pod just to kind of recap the regular season and see where Arizona lands for bowl games. We'll forecast what that will look like on December 7th. That'll do it for this episode of the Wildcast podcast. Subscribe, rate, and comment on Apple and Spotify, and check us out at Tucson.com.